Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Weather with Sim forecast. And in today's forecast, we are going to be talking about a large bomb cyclone that's going to be coming to the United States as we get into the end of this week. And I'm expecting this to bring a lot of impacts, as not only am I anticipating the potential for significant severe weather across a pretty large chunk of the United States, but I also think we will be seeing some widespread flash flooding, especially across those areas that got hit by Helene over a few months ago, which would be really sad if we continue to see some pretty big flash flooding in those areas. But at the same time, I also think we will be seeing blizzard conditions on the northern side of the storm system as it rolls on through, and we could also be seeing some damaging wind gusts that aren't produced by thunderstorms between 50 to 60 miles per hour across a pretty large chunk of the United States, which we will go over in today's forecast. But let's first start off by talking about this big storm. And as you guys can see, latest from the GFS model really showing a strengthening low rate there of around 975 millibars, which would definitely bring some pretty intense severe weather on the southern and eastern side of that system. But at the same time, we will have some very heavy snowfall ongoing on the northern side of the system as that cold air is going to try to usher in right behind it. If you're wondering where the wall is between the cold air and the warm air, it actually looks like this. We're going to have that warm front get as far north as Ontario right there, letting warm air surge on in, but at the same time we're going to have all this cold air surging on in right behind it, and that's exactly the reason why we are going to be seeing that blizzard potential on the northern side of that system. And we could also be seeing some significant severe weather, especially as the system continues to head farther east. But I'm still anticipating some pretty big severe weather even across the Midwest, deep south, and even parts there, the Ohio Valley and Tennessee River valleys. And that storm system will continue east. And look at this, guys. Very heavy rainfall is looking possible after the first part of that storm system heads out. And we're going to have another pretty big low around, bringing a lot of heavy rainfall to parts there of northern Alabama, pretty good portion there of Tennessee, lots of Kentucky into Ohio, West Virginia. And look at that, even those areas that got hit by Helene will also be seeing some heavy rainfall as well, which, like I said, if we saw flooding, that would not be good news. So we'll keep an eye on that very closely, and then of course we'll be watching for more large storm systems like that one. But as of right now, we're just going to be focusing on this one. And you guys can see that the latest from the Storm Prediction Center has already issued an enhanced risk for severe weather that does include southern Missouri, southern Illinois, western Kentucky, pretty good portion there of western Tennessee, northern Mississippi, and as well as a pretty good chunk there of Arkansas. Now keep in mind that I still expect this enhanced risk to expand. You guys in Iowa might be like, will this enhanced risk, get to our area, given the fact that people have been talking about this during the last 5 days or whatever? Well, there is the potential for this enhanced risk to continue to expand. For my opinion, I think this enhanced risk could get extended as far north as central Illinois, and perhaps even extend a little farther to the east as well, to include those areas of Indiana. But this could very well even expand over here towards northeast Texas, northern Louisiana, and maybe even parts there of southern Arkansas. So we'll have to see what happens, or there's a chance that this just, gets bigger like this. And if it were to be that would probably mean the potential for significant damaging winds would be there for much of the area. So we'll have to watch it very closely. And like I said, things can still change. We don't know exactly how this is going to be setting up, but the least I can say, though, is that this will be a pretty big event, including you guys even included in the yellow color. So whether you live in the orange or the yellow color, you're going to want to make sure you're going to be weather aware as we get into Friday, and that will even continue into Saturday with even another big severe weather event down here in the deep south, as we do have another pretty big enhanced risk for severe weather across central and northern Alabama, central and southern Mississippi, for the potential of another tornado outbreak. But once again, guys, things can still change, and we don't know exactly how all this will play out. But once again, I am still anticipating a severe weather outbreak both Friday and Saturday at the end of this week, which would definitely indicate chances for tornadoes. So make sure you are being weather aware at the end of this week, even if you live across areas farther to the north. Now, let's also talk about some more hazards that we're going to really need to be paying attention for, one of which is going to be that energy. That energy is really going to try to strengthen as it continues to surge northward, and with this little area of energy, this may bring some showers and thunderstorms to those areas up there in the upper Midwest before even a bigger surge of energy looks to move on in here. And look at that, down there in eastern Texas, we could be seeing energy values between 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram, which is one of the reasons why this enhanced risk could very well extend a little bit farther down to the south. But at the same time, I still think there's a chance that the enhanced risk could even extend a little farther east and maybe even a little farther north. It's just that as this energy heads east, there may not be as much energy, but we will still have enough to bring even thunderstorms as far east as even the east coast perhaps. So something to really keep an eye on very closely as we get into the end of this week. And I want to really tell you guys, and I am serious about this, it does not take much energy to really cause damaging winds, especially if you get enough moisture. You guys can see that those 60-degree dew points do head as far north as Illinois, and those even continue into Indiana, and I do expect those dew points to even continue even into parts there of Ohio. So as long as your moisture is around 60 or more, you got some pretty good chances for seeing damaging wind gusts. And same with wind shear, guys. Look at the wind shear. Wind shear is going to be the biggest player in this event, as we're going to have a very, very strong jet stream. Look at this, very strong and powerful jet streak right there, as you can see, bringing chances for significant damaging winds across the Ohio Valley, Tennessee River Valley, and even parts there of the deep south. So like I said, as long as you have enough moisture to work with, and as long as you have a significant amount of wind shear, it will not take much to cause even some wind gusts up to hurricane force. This could potentially even be a derecho, guys, so we're going to need to watch this very closely as we get into the end of this week, and we might even see the same event occurring down here in the deep south, as we're going to have another big round of severe weather as we get into Saturday and as well as Sunday. So that will be something to really keep an eye on as we get into the very end of this week. Now, let's also talk about those wind gusts on the surface. Wind gusts on the surface will also be a pretty big player. You guys can see that the latest from the European model is showing widespread wind gusts down here in the southern plains, especially between 50 to 60 miles per hour, but we'll even have some pockets up to 50 miles per hour, hanging as far north as the Dakotas, even over there in Minnesota, Wisconsin. You guys will really be seeing the potential for up to 40 mile per hour wind gusts, which is still enough to cause blizzard conditions. And at the same time, we will even have some pretty high winds ongoing across much of the Ohio Valley and perhaps even down there towards the Tennessee River valleys before a lot of those wind gusts do die down. But we'll still have some pretty strong ones ongoing in the higher elevations in the Appalachian Mountains. And if we do compare that to the GFS model wants to show a little bit higher wind gusts across the northern plains, Ohio Valley, and Midwest, but that that could still change though. That could still change though, as we are still hanging a few days out. But once again, something to really keep an eye on very closely, as I am anticipating some significant damaging wind gusts between 50 to 60 miles per hour that aren't produced by thunderstorms both Friday and Saturday at the end of this week across much of the central and eastern United States. And then for your total rainfall, let's go ahead and check that out. Total rainfall expected to be pretty plentiful, especially down here across those areas that got hit by Helene. Look at that. We could be seeing anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rainfall across those areas that got hit by Helene, but even those areas in northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, northern Georgia, pretty good portion there of Kentucky, Tennessee, you guys can even see higher amounts. So really something to keep an eye on closely, as a lot of these areas did have some pretty big flash flooding and of course some damage in the past, and we didn't have a flooding event too long ago across Tennessee and Kentucky, as we had some historic flash flooding just a couple of weeks ago, and that could be similar, as some areas are still very saturated after that, and then maybe even in another round of that as we do head farther out. But once again, still too far out to really tell exactly what's going to happen. And if we do compare that to the European model does not show nearly as much, but once again still shows it across those areas across the deep south, and as well as those areas that got hit by Helene. The last thing that I want to look at is going to be our total snowfall. You guys can see that with our total snowfall, we will likely be seeing some pretty good snowfall there across Minnesota, especially as this is what the latest from the European model shows. If we compare that to the GFS model, it actually shows a little bit higher amounts, so not really seeing any good model agreement really on the snowfall totals. I still think we will see some areas getting close to a foot, but this is still something to really keep an eye on closely, as we will likely be seeing those blizzard conditions ramp up across those areas due to 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts not produced by storms. So make sure to keep that in mind if you are up there in the upper Midwest, as we will really need to keep an eye on this very closely, and so that could really cause some very big issues right there. And I also just wanted to quickly point out that the low pressure system, as it rolls on through, or will more than likely be record breaking, as this is really going to cause some intense weather as it does get down there towards 975 millibars, which would be very close to category 2 hurricane status, but definitely not going to be anything like that, as we're not going to be seeing any hurricane force wind gusts not produced by thunderstorms. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's weather forecast. Something that I wanted to start pointing out to you guys is that Weather with Sim merchandise is now available, and if you guys would like to get some, make sure to go down below and click the link down in the description, or go to my store page on my channel, click on one of the things, and it will bring you right to it. I have a sweatshirt, I have a sticker, I have an iPhone case, a mug, a tank top. All those things are now available at Weather with Sim store, off of the link down below in the description. So if you guys would like to check that out, make sure to go down below and click the link down below in the description, which would really help out a lot. And I hope you guys all have a great rest of your what was today a great rest of your Monday out there, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thank you all so much for watching, and goodbye.